What's up, everybody? I've got a very spicy character lost as a relic of time, really, in the MHA format. I believe this is a character that, of course, would need an errata if brought back to standard today, similar to Shishi Wakamaru, but it's Mina1. This is also probably a character that got the attacking on turn one rule changed because the meat and bones of this character is once per turn, your turn. Response, discard one card. After you check a card, you may play it as your next form this turn. No check necessary. So, of course, that right there is going to tell you that we're going to be slamming big, high difficulty threats into our deck. And you're going to see that there's some pretty potent combinations that we can cook up here. So, I've chosen the chaos symbol because chaos gives us pillar swing. Pillar swing is well, and chaos, I should mention, this is really, this is like the whole deck, almost like the whole powerhouse machine of the deck. Why you want to be playing chaos is award the victor and pillar swing. This creates what I like to call the fucker's dilemma. So award the victor says response flip, after your attack deals damage, add it to the top of your deck. Your next check to play an attack gets +2. Of course, when we check that card, we can then respond with Mina1 to play it again for free. And because of the +2, we're now checking a 5 when we check this card, which is absolutely amazing. So it sets up Mina's response perfectly. It allows you to pass the check pretty much no matter what, right? Or at least, you're checking normally a 5. I shouldn't say no matter what. And then on top of that, Pillar Swing says, if this attack is completely blocked, add it to your momentum. And that's amazing, especially for a mid attack. Clears your progressive. It beats a couple different on block effects, right? Because this is added during the block step. It's not after it resolves, so it'll beat things like Faith Shield, which is probably going to be really relevant in the Spotlight format. That was one of the best defensive pieces back in the day. But on top of that, not only does it have anti-block protection, it has enhanced the damage of this attack cannot be reduced below printed. So it's a 3 mid for 8 that you cannot damage reduce, and if you block it, the rival doesn't have to deal with it. But if you don't block it, you're gonna have to deal with it again. There is the fucker's dilemma. But what makes this really crazy, what sends us over the top, what makes this deck probably truly amazing and insane in Spotlight is Shadow's Aid. So enhance your attack commit, add one card from your momentum to your hand. Your rival may ready one foundation. Now, this was their first attempt at effects that would be printed later as 3/5s with no drawback, as forms and stuff like that. So, this is a reprint of Surveyor that they played really safe, but they did one thing to technically buff it. There's one reason why this card is better than Surveyor, and it's better than what is it, Enlisting in the Survey Corps, whatever the newest reprint of Surveyor is, which I'm sure Surveyor is a reprint of something else. But Shadow's Aid is an ally. So we can build it for free with Command Pigeon Flock. So Command Pigeon Flock can also build Friend of Animals. We've got a couple Friend of Animals in here. So Friend of Animals, we don't have a lot of ally attacks. We really only have the one Command Pigeon Flock. But Friend of Animals can add the Command Pigeon Flock to our momentum that Shadow's Aid can then grab out. So there's a lot of like little extra consistency tricks, lots of little combinations, but what we're really aiming for is we're really aiming to hit big moves off of Award the Victor. Another big move that we've got here that's great to play for free is Ultimate Combination. This is a one of in the deck because it is pretty situational for you to have foundation momentum in the deck. We do have a one of home run comment, so you can sort of force this combo. You'll probably be playing ultimate combination on like a 7 or an 8, but I have been in a place where adding the Shadow's Aid committed to my momentum with home run comment and then building it after the powerful from ultimate combination to go get some 4 diff attack that I actually need to win the game has come up. So home run comments in here. Home run comment's also a great one to play after, check through a long string. If you check the home run comment, or if you can hit with a home run comment, right? You can play home run comment on like a 6 or a 7. And then if you hit your rival for normal damage after you bank the momentum, then you respond with Award the Victor. You play the home run comment again, you've got a pretty good idea of whether or not they have a high block, and you can then invest fully into the powerful. So all of the attacks here are high or charge attacks except for Ice Storm. Ice Storm is another momentum cash out. There's quite a few powerful momentum cash outs because the idea here is that every time you play a pillar swing, you should expect it to get blocked, but it should come at great cost to the opponent because of the stun too, and because you do add a little speed, and things like that. But really, it should be that you clearing the card pool and getting the momentum is a really, really big deal because of this Shadow's aid and the threat of award the victory. To that end, we've also got cards like Ryukyu Agency Trainees, another ally that can be built with Command Pigeon Flock. You're going to deal with quite a few breaker ones coming your way on pillar swings. So Ryukyu Agency Trainees is just really nice to have. This one you might want to play two of just so you see it a bit more often, maybe sideboard it. I didn't really put together a sideboard for this one because sideboards are like super personal in universes anyways. But this one is really cool because if they block your pillar swing with a breaker one, you respond Ryukyu Agency Trainees, you probably have a clear card pool, or you might have like the attack you played, to check pillar swing. And then you get to just build a foundation, clear through the breaker, build it down. You're now resource neutral, and you don't have to deal with that breaker anymore. So, a really nice one to pull up. The deadlock response is not terrible, not amazing either. We have 4 Electric Jolt. I originally had some Vast Hybrids on this list because that's an amazing attack to just proc for free at the end of a build turn. All of these attacks, for the most part, I'm trying to generate some value if I check them randomly, right? If I, in the middle of a build turn, check a home run comment and it's going to be powerful 1, 3 high for 4, it still has the opportunity to gain me a health, which is important. That's the one ability we didn't talk about. Mina1 has your attack gets +1 speed. If it deals damage, gain 1 health. But on top of that, you can just bank a momentum. If you committed a momentum during this attack, or if you wanted to use one of them or something like that, banking a momentum for later could be a very viable strategy. Anytime you check a command pigeon flock, you have the opportunity to just build a free foundation, right? You can send 4 high for 5 at the opponent, and maybe, you'll probably just build a really powerful ally foundation. Um, to that end, Zero Gravity Lift is here as a 3 of because it synergizes so well with Shadow's Aid. Not only can just looping throws at your opponent until they get absolutely sick, because it's very consistent to throw at least 1 attack per turn with Mina1. It's pretty hard to brick with her. It does happen. You'll draw like 7 foundations and then build 4 and you didn't check an attack. It happens, but it's way more rare with this character. So having a Zero Gravity Lift that you can pull out of momentum and loop with Shadow's Aid to put slower decks on kind of a timer, because as a chaos deck, you're going to see that we have a pretty substantial amount of defense despite our character not really doing any of it on their face. But Zero Gravity Lift helps with Shadow's Aid. It helps with the pillar swing type looping. If your opponent elects to take the damage and you have the Zero Gravity Lift and you suck it into momentum and you Shadow's Aid and you just save the award the victor, like, things are going absolutely crazy for you, right? So Zero Gravity Lift is just another one where if you check it at the end of a string or at the end of building a bunch of foundations, you get a little bit of chip damage. I'm pretty sure Minashio doesn't say non-throw as well. So having, a throw that you can loop to slowly gain life back can matter because defensively, this deck has a lot of really nice tricks. Well, for one, we've got return this non-charge attack to its printed damage, and we've got a speed reset. So Chaos, one of the few symbols in MHA that has it, that has both a speed and a damage reset, although not quite as good as You're So Obvious because they're on the same card for those 3 symbols, but it is nice to have. And then we're playing 2 Petty Squabble because our character doesn't really need to be ready on defense. So having this as sort of like a draw 2, like commit your character draw 2 if you go down to no cards in hand, is absolutely incredibly powerful, especially on those turns where you bricked totally and you like got a little greedy and you built 5 or 6 foundations in the middle of a game and went down to maybe 1 card. Petty Squabble is the perfect card for that style of gameplay, and that is a great way to play the game in stalemate style games where your opponent's not really threatening you and you can take a risk to try and get ahead. It's not good if you're low health, right? If you're in a close game, In those really stalematy games where no one's gotten anything going, Petty Squabble can allow you to play an extra risky game plan. On top of that, Chaos, Staple, Defense, Struggling with Studies. I've only got two of it in here. I was trying to make room for some more offensive foundations. If you want to play for Struggling with Studies, that's probably correct. I would maybe ratchet up the number of Breaker 2s or add in a cheerful uppercut. You know, one of the cool things about this character is you can throw so many things in this deck, so many things that are just high difficulty that are whatever you want. Because you know the foundation lineup is pretty expensive. It's a high curve, but on early turns, you're going to be responding when you check and award the victory. You know, you're going to be building a lot of these three diffs for free as you check them just because they're better than the other foundations in your hand, anyways. So I figured that the lower difficulty foundations would end up feeling less staple than they did before. And on top of that, I had to include cards like Feeling Cute and Nedry Champ, the big three, because the fact is your character just doesn't add that many stats. And these attacks mostly buff themselves through momentum or you know through some interaction with your opponent, right? Like the indiscriminate shock from out of left field is in there and the ultimate combinations there if we have the momentum. But you're really going to want little plus ones and stuff like that to put on top of it. um, Struggling with Studies was also a little redundant defensively with Chivalrous Competitor. You know, their defensive responses cover a lot of the same stuff, and this one draws us a card, gets us ahead. And you know this deck really does get to kind of plot around and do nothing and spin its wheels and throw random stuff at the opponent while building your board up. So don't be surprised if this deck isn't like a crazy aggressive combo dunk your opponent turn two kind of a thing, even though that is obviously possible, right? That is obviously the potential that the deck has. What its real strength is the fact that it can build up its defenses while still generating, you know, incremental value from random command pigeon flock builds or, you know, random momentum from a card that basically forcibly goes to momentum, either deals damage or it's going to get blocked. Um, on top of that, we've got incredible display because spending momentum in this deck is something it's built to do. This again, it's similar to struggling with studies. I felt like this was another reason I didn't necessarily need for struggling with studies is the fact that incredible display kind of does the same thing, right? When you're blocking with foundation. Other than that, successful results, an incredible deadlock ability for when you need a little bit of extension, and again, another way to spend momentum, get flooded. It is kind of possible that your opponent like three times and like have three attack momentum that you're not going to spend anytime soon. So having little effects like this to spend momentum on was good. Basic training is the same idea as the one diffs. You know, uh, it is stats that Mina is lacking, and you can dump these all the damage triggers on throws. Release is your defense in a can for the chaos symbol. This is another one of the reasons why you're going to be able to overextend, build out a big board, draw two cards with something like Petty Squabble, and then like survive through so many otherwise lethal strings. We are a set one character, so playing plus ultra just feels correct. You know, doubling the stats on any of these big old monster moves is always really good, and that ace in the whole block, you're gonna see a one of plus ultra in a lot of lists that get posted. Maybe every list I've done that's gotten posted here. And then the last card I want to talk about is I Am Here. This card is so good for Mina. It's so hard to describe how different the deck felt playing it before and after I Am Here. On its face, it's really just one extra check. You know, if you check a 3 on I Am Here and you get a free attack out of it, it feels so otherworldly good. It's really hard to describe. I don't know why necessarily, but this is absolutely just in the theme of the deck, in the vein of Mina Ashido, right? You just get to start your turn with a little bit of extra gambling and get to almost always it's going to be building you an extra foundation, but I don't know, something about it just felt so much smoother and so much better, and it felt like a Mina Ashido card. It felt like this card should have Mina's face on it. Um, every time I played it, I checked something that I really just kind of wanted to play as my next form and then get two builds out of it or something like that. So the damage pump, I don't think I've ever used because it, of course, only +3 in this character, but, there is a world where you check an attack with Mina to play this and respond with it, like, as a desperation move. Keep that in mind, but yeah, I am here, you get to do the first form, you check a card to play it. That's probably gonna be something that you wanna build, on a turn where you have, like, nothing else going on, and then I am here will just, turn into 2 different foundations from your hand. Uh, Sometimes you get an attack out of it for free, and then you get an attack out of your character for free, and you feel like a god, and it's mostly subliminal, but I just wanted to talk about this because this card was so surprising to me, and I just kind of threw it in on a whim, and all of a sudden, like the gears just turned. It was so much more impactful than it really should have been. But yeah, I am here absolutely amazing on early turns too. Like if you get totally like bricked up going second, but you have an I am here, the opportunity to check a foundation on it, discard an attack, get a foundation from it is really high, and then build the foundation and like again, it unclunks your hand in like weird ways that I can't really describe. And as a character who's lacking stats, when you do get that +3 speed on an ultimate combination, or you do get +3 speed on like an opening command pigeon flock or something when you really need the bonus momentum, stuff like that. It just feels so good. So definitely play it with the I am here, but let me know, is there any cards I forgot? Again, you can put like anything you want. You can put Bellowing Roar in this deck. You can play Trigger Transformation with a bunch of assets if you want. That was kind of where I started, but I ended up really liking the Shadow's Aid package for the character, and it kind of morphed away from assets. But here's the Mina Shooter list that I would be playing if I was playing in Webcam Warriors this weekend.